Greetings, one and all. Welcome to the Media Beat episode 89 with Maureen and Claire. Now, you know what the form is by now. We do a deep dive, we do some news, we do some pod emojis, and the deep dive is one that we've been teasing for months, and I've been waiting for months. And it's about games, and it's something that both our experts know quite a lot about. Claire talks a lot about them, so she's going to start us off. And it's a deep dive on what they call AAA games. I'm sure a lot of you will know what AAA or AAA games are, but Claire's going to explain and do one of her famous deep dives, and that's coming up. We're also going to be talking about skinny bundles and YouTube, whatever that means. Anthropic, loads of stuff going on there. Disney, of course, it wouldn't be the Media Beat without Disney, and some other cultural phenomenon going on, Super Bowl, Winter Olympics, and there will be some romance right at the end of the show. So stay tuned. I don't know why people say that these days, because you can just right to the end. Anyway, anyone over the age of 35 says stay tuned. However, we need to crack on. And it's the deep dive. It's AAA or AAA or 3A's games, AAA games. And Claire, may I invite you to start and take us through that adventure?
Yes, we've been talking about doing a deep dive in gaming, but actually gaming is so big. It's like doing a big deep dive in television. It's almost impossible. So we thought we'd start with a small part of gaming, which is financially quite a big one, which is what the AAA games are. So they're written AAA. They're mostly called AAA. This is not a word that comes from a gaming magazine or a developer. It was borrowed from the credit industry because it's similar to the AAA rated bonds, which in theory, at least, represent the highest quality and lowest risk. Now, what that really means is very, very expensive. So essentially, it's like the Hollywood blockbusters of games. That's what it is. And it started in the late 90s, really. There were some really big games before, but the first one that people talked to as a proper AAA game was Final Fantasy VII in 1997, which had a budget at the time of $45 million, which was considered absolutely enormous for a game. In today's dollars, it would be about $85 million, still much smaller than most AAA games now, but still a significant budget. And then it started sort of going bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm going to give you some crazy stats about AAA games. When Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, it earned $800 million. It earned $800 million in its first 24 hours. And by the third day, it had crossed $1 billion. So this is officially the fastest selling entertainment product in history. It beats every movie, every album ever released, Grand Theft Auto 5. Another example, perhaps more of an illustration of how much the technology and the development time is expanded in these AAA games. During the development of Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar Games spent years, not months, years on horse physics. And there was one detail that became quite viral at the time. The horse's testicles actually shrink when you're in a colder climate in-game. So what you're watching is a true representation. Yeah. I mean, they do in real life, Oliver. As well.
I knew that much. I knew.
Reflected in game. That was considered a little bit of the peak of what some people are starting to say is unnecessary AAA polish, and we'll come to that. You know, those games spend so much time and money and effort on the details. It doesn't always entirely pay off. Marketing for these AAA games, as for Hollywood blockbusters, is absolutely essential. Actually, for most of these games, the marketing budget now is higher than the development cost. So you're talking about a $200 million game. You're going to spend another $250 million just on billboards, trailers, influencers, etc. So the problem with this, and again, there's so many parallels with Hollywood blockbusters, is where we are now is we are basically at a place where it's a AAA game is about $300 million of dollars of development, and you have to then double that to take into account marketing. So because it's so high, what happens is huge risk aversion. So we're sticking to sequels, we're sticking to remakes, we're sticking to franchises or well-known brands, etc., etc. And it becomes harder and harder to make any money out of these shows, out of these beasts that they are, because they are so big. We're also in a world of constant delays, and that's quite different from Hollywood blockbusters, which sometimes are delayed, but actually usually there's a very specific release date, and it's quite rare that a Hollywood blockbuster will be delayed by a couple of years. But GTA 6, Grand Theft Auto 6, that we discussed last year, and it was supposed to come last year. It's been in development for 12 years. Everybody's waiting for it. In fact, a lot of studios pushed back their releases to this year because they were scared of competing with GTA 6 last year. Did not come out at all. And not only it did not come out last year, it's now slated for November of this year for PlayStation and Xbox, and probably even later for the PC, which is normal because that's always delayed. They've already started building the hype machine. The first trailer has already crossed 475 million views, but it's still not there because they're keeping they keep tweaking it and making it better and doing more, etc., etc. In the meantime, what's happening in parallel is suddenly we're seeing some of the non-AAA games, the indie games, doing absolutely gangbusters. And there's last year, the biggest and the game that won Game of the Year last year was an indie game. It was developed. It was called Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and supposedly it cost less than $10 million to develop. Now, obviously, you have to add the marketing budget, but again, they were very clever about it. They really went with word of mouth, with sort of guerrilla warfare budget, etc. And so, in fact, probably total around $20 million. Compare that with, again, Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is another game that's coming out, $300 million. You could make 30 of those games. And that game was incredibly successful and incredibly profitable. It sold 5 million copies, and it probably grossed around $250 million. Hard to know because those numbers are hard to get. So it's becoming a game of massive 12-year investment versus much more nimble, smaller games that sometimes will fail, but sometimes will actually do as well. And if you look at Clair Obscur Expedition 33, it actually looks as good as one of the AAA games. That's what's amazing. And Maureen will talk a little bit more about the technology behind some of these games, but it becomes harder to tell them apart, partly because those more indie games, they sort of build a corridor for you in the world rather than trying to build out the entire world, which is obviously much cheaper, but also much more efficient and much faster to develop. So we are at a little bit of a crossroads. Obviously, there's a lot of technology development. The big studios are struggling. The development times have become just almost impossible to manage. Budgets have skyrocketed. Whoops, I shouldn't say that. The budgets have exploded. Yes, and that's a sign that I'm running out of my deep dive time. And meanwhile, some plucky little indies are actually trying to catch up. So we are at an interesting moment for AAA games, and I am going to hand over to Maureen.
And I think it's interesting because people sort of often, say, why do two of you tackling sort of, games? Surely that's a different and separate, segment. No, it's not. And I think Claire, you've just painted a really stark picture there, an interesting picture where we can draw parallels of what's happening in the media industry more broadly in the media and entertainment. And if you look at it, so that you've just my God, those numbers are staggering. I mean, they're quite stark. So you've got the AAA games industry is going through the same, I think, structural crisis that we've seen play out across entertainment. Costs spiraling upward, the hits getting bigger but fewer, and the middle gets hollowed out. So I just wanted to sort of factor that in as well in terms of how we think about the gaming industry. And it's all about attention economy. So we're all chasing the same eyeballs, we're all chasing the same sort of demographics, that we really want to sort of spend time on the game rather than a film or a TV show. But I just found it staggering as well that it's been pretty brutal, what's happened, the consolidation underneath it. I mean, we spoke about, I think it was probably back end of last year, Ubisoft has gone through major restructuring in 2025, and a far narrower, I think, or narrowing of its project slate and closing studios. I mean, effectively just like shuttering them. The Embracer Group as well, which did go on a wild acquisition spree, essentially halved its workforce, cutting around 8,000 people. So when you look at, and I think you spelled it out really eloquently, Claire, about the commercial risk, it's staggering. If you need to sell 8 to 10 million copies at full price just to break even, that's before the marketing, then come on, this is not sustainable. So, I think the mathematics of the AAA are really starting to look a lot like the mathematics of tentpole movies, except, and I think you pointed it out, I couldn't believe it was 12 years. I made a note of it. Game development cycles are much longer than the film development cycles. But I think what's really interesting though is the media economics perspective is the response, isn't it? It's just like streaming. We're seeing the industry pivot from growth at all costs to now growth to profitability. And I think the live service models, we're seeing season passes, we're seeing microtransactions, subscription economics of gaming, and so on and so forth. But what I found interesting, before I just sort of touch on what the wild card here, that I think it is, that the GDC survey found that 41% of developers really aren't interested anymore in the live service. And that's where I think all the development money is being spent. So you just think there's a mismatch there. But anyway, I think the wild card here, and you would like me to talk about the technology piece, but the wild card here is, I think, AI. It's got to be. So we know the studios, and that was great because I just saw Oliver pay attention now. He's like sitting upright.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. The studios are already using it, okay, for testing and for asset creation. We know that. So they're cutting, apparently, the manual keyframing time by 30 to 40%. Apparently, that's out there in some cases. So that's pretty big. It's time saving here. But the developer community still remains skeptical. So more than half say that Gen AI is actually harming the industry. And you know what? This is supporting all efforts for unionization, which has hit about 65%. So it's really staggering when you think about the irony here. So we've already spoken about the stark numbers. We've now got a technology that effectively could help speed up things and reduce costs. But the technology that might help AAA in terms of its sustainability as a category is the one that the workforce itself most fears. So it's pretty staggering. But anyway, I think the real story here going forward is whether, Claire, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, is it now the middle tier? So that as it was, as we saw, and as you sort of pointed out, one of the more interesting game is probably less expensive, but gaining more prominence. But as with in media and entertainment, you've got the double A games or the underdog. So 2025 apparently is meant to be the year in gaming terminology of the dominance of the underdog. And that could well stage a comeback. So you've got maybe strong technical education, excellent, let's say skilled individuals over in Eastern Europe that are really sort of surfacing these games. You've got lower costs in Asia as well. You've got better tools. So I think some of this is basically going to be fueling, perhaps. I mean, what we're seeing in the last maybe couple of years, we haven't seen many of the 500 million or the billion blockbusters that you referred to at the top of the session here. But 2025 really does feel, and 2026 possibly, with, and if it's allowed, better tools, better technology, interesting approach to new gaming. Could well help. I mean, I only saw 2 games last year, and I haven't played them. I'm not a gamer, but it was Helldivers, which I think is a Sony game, and Remnant 2 as well. Clearly better priced, clearly not as expensive, and they really are sort of ruling the roost, or certainly out there that are a bit more sustainable. So I don't know. It's interesting that the parallels are very strong between what we've been seeing in media and entertainment and the gaming community.
Yes, there's actually a new word now, which is the triple I for independent. The group of the independent studios have come together and sort of launched this idea of triple I, which is really they call it the Goldilocks zone. Sorry, the Goldilocks zone. I'm having problems with my O's today. They call it the Goldilocks zone, where it's not big. It's not the big AAA machines, but it's big enough to be interesting. It's not too small. And interestingly, it's a lot of ex-AAA developers who just got bored with, the lack of flexibility, the compromises, the sort of throw everything at it, and wanted to take a little bit more risk and do some more, escape the corporate red tape to some level, but still do some really interesting, fun things. And, some of the games there come from those new studios: Hades 2 from Supergiant Games, Dead Cells from Motion Twin, Evil Empire, Slay the Spire 2, which was recently announced. There's some really interesting new attempts to create that middle ground in games. And I think that's going to be where a lot of the innovation comes from. That's going to be where a lot of the technology adoption comes from, because they will have to, because they have much smaller budgets. But, I think there's a strong parallel there with what happened. Remember, we talked about this, the Brutalist versus Oppenheimer combat, where now you can create something that looks like an Oppenheimer, but for a Brutalist budget and still have, still do quite well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting couple of years with, hopefully, and this is also, again, what we're seeing a little bit in entertainment, a renewal of creativity, because people are moving away from, creatives are moving away from these massive projects and going for things that are a bit more flexible.
Fabulous stuff. Golly, you covered a lot of ground there. AAA to AAA, every letter in between. I don't know about you, but when I'm choosing a video game, I always look for excitement, good value, and accurate thermodynamic rendering of horses' testicles. Those are my big 3.
Same with me. That's the first thing I look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad we agree.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the big 3. They're my red lines. So that was absolutely fascinating. Great stuff. Thank you. We covered everything: business, creative, AI, the lot. That was the deep dive on AAA Gamings. I think we'll have more to say about that in months to come. But for now, that's the end of the deep dive. And we jump like startled jackrabbits into In the News. Okay, and skinny bundles are not what horses have in low temperatures. Skinny bundles means something else. It was my nickname at school. So, Claire, you're going to explain, honestly, you did made a terrible error mentioning testicles to a schoolboy.
This
like
is
me.
a triple X rated. This has become a triple X rated now. The innuendos.
I knew I should never have told you about a horse's testicle.
Yeah, I'm still in the lower fourths at Bradford Grammar School, tittering away at something that's slightly rude. It's pathetic. Well, I'm not going to grow up now. So, yes, YouTube TV launches skinny bundles. That's a story. Claire has it.
Yes, I read this headline and I was really confused. I was like, YouTube bundles? What are we talking about? And so I feel slightly ashamed, and our US listeners are going to be, and viewers are going to think we're a bit naive here, but I hadn't realized in the US, YouTube was a cable provider, a virtual cable provider, and provided over the top, as we say, meaning via internet rather than cable, channels to homes. So you can subscribe to YouTube TV in the same way that you'd subscribe to Sky in the UK and get all your normal channels through the internet. Now, this was launched in 2017, so 9 years ago. It's not a new thing, although they haven't really talked about it very much, and it's US only. But it is now as big as Comcast and Charter, which are the two major cable providers in the US, who are, by the way, losing about 10 to 12% of their subscribers every year. Meanwhile, YouTube TV is now at 10 million subscribers in early 2026. And they started with a sort of a small bundle of channels for about $50 a month, but because they've actually started at $35 a month, so it was very good. And then in 2023, 2 years ago, they acquired the NFL Sunday Ticket, which I'm told is a very big deal, because that's how you watch NFL games in the US on TV. Again, we're talking about TV. This has actually got nothing to do with YouTube except the name. They bought the NFL Sunday Ticket for $2 billion. So then they sold that to their audience. They had to raise their prices, a typical situation. So currently the base price for the YouTube TV subscription has gone up to $83 or $82.99 a month, which is crazy, and is back to the crazy numbers that, you know, the cable bills were in the US, and there was bill fatigue. So YouTube did what Comcast did before then, and all of the other cable providers did before them. They started launching skinny bundles. Skinny bundles means you can subscribe just to the sports channel, or you can subscribe to entertainment and kids, or you can subscribe to Disney, but not the baby Disney, and everything. So it's just sort of a bit more pick and choose, and you can start. So actually, they only have 3 skinny bundles. They have the sports one at $65, the entertainment one, and the news and family one. So if you don't want to pay the $83, you can choose to either have entertainment or sports or news and family. Apparently, if you don't have a family, you don't care about the news. I don't know. These bundles are not super logical to me. I'm assuming the big one for everybody is sports. So again, this is a TV proposition, but I found it fascinating that YouTube TV had 10 million subscribers in the US. It's also finally reached profitability. It's a profitable business. It wasn't always, but it is at the moment. And it's launched skinny bundles, which is clearly the way to go once your base price is over $80 a month. But Maureen, did you know about YouTube TV?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't either. No. No, whenever I heard YouTube, I just thought it was OTT, and I thought it was they were getting a subscription route. So no. Like you, I wasn't aware of it. So it's true. Was I convincing then? I'm not sure. Anyway, but this particular point is really significant because it really does fit our pattern of what we've been discussing, I don't know, for forever, I think, that the aggregation economics is returning to streaming in a more targeted way. And I think YouTube is so clever. It's essentially saying what we all really want all of these providers to say is, we know what you actually want. We are reading the data. You want sport. Here's sport. Yeah. Stop paying for 200 channels for home renovation shows that you never watch. So I just think it's very clever. It's about time. But frankly, it probably didn't really have that cut through sort of strategy, marketing presence. And then suddenly they said, let's just get it done. And I think the pricing point is very good. It clearly undercuts its own, so $55 to $65, I think it is. It uncuts its full YouTube TV package, which, as you pointed out, is not cheap. But they're banking on the fact that live sport is what people want to watch. and we will reliably pay for. So it looks cheap for everyone. And if you can get, and especially, you've got ESPN, TNT, the NFL network, all these regional sports networks, that is genuinely a really good sports covering. So I think it's smart. I think it's clever. I think it caught Comcast and Charter off guard. But I just think YouTube have just got smart people in there thinking about what the structural trends here are. And that is, let's give people what they want, because guess what? We know what they want because we read the data, and our analytics are pretty strong. So I think it's smart. I think it's brilliant. Very clever.
But it's really, I mean, yes, all of this, but one, everything old is new again, because it's not exactly a new strategy, although it's good that they've brought it back. And two, it still seems a bit off strategy for them, or maybe not. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Anyway, there you go.
I give YouTube credit for having a base or critical mass where they can start to experiment and explore, and I think that's what they're doing. Yeah.
I mean, experiment, explore, and become the leading provider of, a virtual cable provider in the US. That's just the YouTube way.
Let's just kind of do that, let's just do that on the side. Yeah.
Exactly.
You've got to hand it to them. These clever people, always diversifying and stuff. So that was great. Skinny Bundles. Fantastic. It's just a country and western singer. Anyway, so let's move on. So by the magic of podcasting, Maureen is now standing outside and the weather has just broken for her, so it's quite sunny, and the sun shines down on her auburn hair as she reports on from Anthropic Towers all things Claude, new funding rounds, the SaaS start market tanking, all that stuff. Maureen, give us an update, please.
Yes, and I think I've been out here for at least a fortnight as well. There's been so much going on, but let's just unpack it. And I will look to Claire to also support me with either her sort of astonishment and saying, "I can't believe that's happened," But anyway, let me just unpack a few things. So first off, in quick succession, right at the end of January, Anthropic released a set of open source plugins for Claude Cowork tool. Okay, right, so that's this co-working tool. You all know that what that means. But essentially what it was doing was from an industry specific automation module. So it's for legal, it's for finance, it was sales, marketing, and data analysis. So you could do contract reviews, compliance checks, sales presentations, legal intake, whatever. There's so much stuff you could do with these plugins. So real substantive workflow automation, not a chat bot party trick, right? So that was the first. Then comes February, right? So they launched Claude Opus 4.6, and that's their most advanced model, which effectively can coordinate teams of AI agents working in parallel. So think of it as an AI department, like an AI travel department, doing loads of stuff for you, not just buying the ticket, rather than just a simple AI assistant. And then thirdly, more importantly, they go and close a $30 billion Series G funding round at a 300, I mean, these numbers are crazy, 380 billion valuation. That's probably what I think is the second largest private funding round in technology history, behind OpenAI's 40 billion raise. So that's so they basically got this money. They're showing some annualized revenues of around 14 billion, growing more than tenfold over the last 3 years. So you've got Claude Code, their AI coding tool, and then we've got a run rate of revenue of 2.53 billion or so on. Right, that's a lot happening. Now, here's the bit that should make every media and software executive pay attention to Claire and me here and Oliver. All right, those co-work plugins, which Anthropic positioned in a very, very minor product update, triggered almost 300 billion, I think it was 285 billion sell-off in the markets, in the stock market we're talking about. Okay, so you had Reuters dropped 18%, LexisNexis, which is the legal platform, an extraordinary platform for lawyers under RELX
Your
parent
ex-employer.
company. Exactly, my ex-employer, Intuit, PayPal, everything was hammered, absolutely hammered, because of this little minor product update. Okay, right. So it really did spook. And then you got Goldman Sachs, US software stocks that also fell about 6% and so on. But so anyway, you get the picture. You get the picture that Anthropic with Claude just made a few little announcements, 3 of them, and then we've got every single person frightened. They got the worry stock happening, or the worrisome issues, really surfacing to the top. So what spooked the market was really Anthropic moved what we know is the technology stack. It moved up the stack. So before, it was just giving us API access. So you just like these plugins and really letting other older companies do everything that they do. So within your own sort of ecosystem, like the Googles and Microsofts and albeit, many others. But instead, what they were doing, and here's my analogy, I hope you get it. Well, I hope you like it. I mean, rather than get it, is before they were just building the engine. And then now they're building the entire car. So that's what this means. That's what this means. So they've threatened the entire SaaS model, SaaS pricing model. And what I mean by SaaS is, software as a service. Now, what software as a service usually does is you pay per seat, or you pay per user fees. Now, because if AI can do the work for you, you don't need as many seats. So that's the reason where everyone's going, oh my God, we don't talk about seats anymore. I can't charge people, per seat and so on. So this is the crux, in my view, or in, I think, more eloquently sort of sensible folks out there. This is the crux of the matter. This is the issue. So the stock market crashing almost, well, not crashing, but really suffering. Some of the analysts are now saying that was the reason why that had happened. People were really worried about this. Now there are analysts out there that basically believe this is overblown. You had Wedbush basically saying Armageddon scenario, far from reality. Gartner, an authority on all things technology, saying I don't know that predictions of death of SaaS are a little bit premature. You had Jensen, CEO founder of NVIDIA, saying, I think these fears are illogical. But the Gartner note, I thought, was really pretty interesting and something quite telling. What effectively they were saying is these tools expose how much day-to-day knowledge work remains manual. So how much of all this stuff remains manual? That's the real story. So the disruption isn't coming from everything at once. It's basically saying it's coming from manual, repetitive tasks that SaaS companies have been able to get away with charging premium prices to handle. That is the issue here. And I think that's the problem we're facing. So for our world, media, content, professional services and the like, I think the implications here are quite significant and maybe enormous. And we should also note, just to sort of throw in a little cheeky thing that Claude Anthropic did, is they took all this and they said, oh, let's have more fun. Let's note that at the Super Bowl, connection here, it was really Anthropic then said, I don't need to worry about small little revenue lines like advertising. I don't need to worry about that. And they ran 2 ads during the Super Bowl as part of a campaign that said a time and a place, promising that Claude would stay ad-free, in direct contrast to, of course, at that same time when OpenAI put up their service line that they said that they will now probably incorporate ads, well, they will incorporate ads in ChatGPT. So it's a really interesting strategic positioning play here. So cheekily, they rounded off all of that noise, all of that news, all of that shock to the system with a cheeky 2-parter campaign on Super Bowl, which of course they paid a hell of a lot of money for, as Claire will talk about later on in the show. But staggering. all of that across a 2-3 week period. And I rest my case, Your Honour, that this is some big news, but crazy stuff going on.
And have nothing to add except that Rinan Sharma, who was the head of the Safeguard research team at Anthropic, resigned this month, issuing a warning that the world is in peril and decided to study poetry. So, it's been an interesting month at Anthropic, but otherwise, I think that was a masterful description of everything that's gone on. So thank you for that.
Okay, and staying with you, Maureen, you've just, golly, you moved there quite quickly. You're now at Disney HQ with news of white smoke permeating a papal chimney, a new CEO. Is this true?
Oliver, you are on form today. This is wonderful. I love that. You are usually on form, but spectacularly on form. I love the white smoke. So yes. So actually, for once, there's some cautious optimism to report alongside the usual structural headwinds. All right. So the big headline is that Josh D'Amaro, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, has become the 9th CEO. He'll take that on in March, in a few weeks' time.
Can we all give a big round of applause to Disney for not naming a guy named Bob as CEO?
Bob.
Yeah, Bobless.
This is a victory, I think, for diversity. And to be fair, they've also named a woman as president. President and Chief Creative Officer, Dana Walden. So, oh my God, what is going on? Where are the Bobs?
Where are the Bobs? So it's interesting, actually. Yeah, it is interesting. But I was hoping that Dana would get there, but the reason we think that Josh was chosen was because he currently runs the Disney Experiences, and that's the Parks, Resorts, Cruise Line division, which apparently recorded, not apparently, it was released something like 10 billion in quarterly revenue. So that's a record revenue target that he's hit. He's also overseeing some $60 billion of investment in the park's expansion over the next 10 years. So anyway, this is Bob Iger's second attempt at succession. And as Claire has pointed out, he picked Bob Chapek last time, which didn't go too well for him. And of course, Iger had to come back in and take on and run the ship again. Now, the board hopes that because they went for an internal person and went for Josh, who clearly is running the biggest part of Disney and the most, I think it contributes about 60% to operating profits as well. So quite a significant part of the business. They're hoping that they do not have the same issue that they had a couple of years back. So anyway, the results are pretty good generally. I think the fiscal 2026 results were 5% year on year, which was beating Wall Street expectations. Entertainment division, not doing as well, but we know that's because they've got some tailwinds there. You've got the cord cutting, you've got high costs, but that's all Dana's area, as kind of, I think, been partially offset by strong theatrical slate and streaming improvements, which is good. So there's some bright spots here. They're genuine enough. Now we've had good films that have come out and done well, like Zootopia 2, Avatar, and there's been some excellent sort of, top sort of 10 most, I think, sort of watch shows in 2025 were on Disney Plus and Hulu. And overall, I think growth is like sort of going in the right direction. I do think, though, that the stock market is still concerned. They're not convinced that, will Josh do a good job and will Bob be brought back? So the stock price did fall 7% in the week when the results came out, even though the results were not bad. So the strategic question clearly is going to be, what will Josh do? Is he going to double down quite hard on parks and experiences? Is he going to do any acquisition or disposals? Epic Games is rumored to be on the table for maybe interesting reasons that we were talking about earlier. And clearly the streaming side has got to profitability, so maybe Dana will have a true remit, and of course Dana is reporting into Josh. So I mean, all in all, good set of results, but I still think that people are not sure, has Bob handed the reins over to the right person, and we'll have to see and make sure that we're not going to see another Bob Chapek sort of scenario. But Claire, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said. I think it was, the results, the earnings were cautiously good. There was some 2025 was a good year for the studio. They did really well with Zootopia 2, which is called Zoopolis here, and Avatar, or whichever number of Avatar that was, that did really well. And they are starting to. I think they're doing everything right. They're lining it up. They are struggling with coming up with a really compelling narrative, I think, and perhaps gaming will be that, but that's also very expensive, and I think that will concern the investors as well, because we've just explained why. So
exactly.
And let's see what the new. You said co-CEOs, Maureen, when we did our predictions, and it's not co-CEOs, but it is a two-people team. It is two people at very much in the lead. So I think you're right. You were absolutely right to think that they were going to try to spread the bets a little bit.
And don't forget, it hasn't happened yet. So
yes.
we've still got 10 months to go.
Yeah. We've still got a chance of someone called Bob coming along, and then we can have the headlines
exactly.
Bob bobbing along.
We still have time to find a Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
or Dana could get a middle name or something.
Yeah.
Confirmed
it does
or
sound
something,
like
and just say Saint Bob. Yes.
Yeah. It does sound like a duumvirate. So I think you're at least partially right. So we'll count that as a win. Okay, thank you so much. That's the end of In the News. Which can mean but one thing, and that one thing is Podmojis. We're a bit low on time, so we might have to crack on, but there's things that we can't avoid covering. One, of course, is the Super Bowl, which sort of leaves me a bit cold, really, but it is probably the preeminent non-international sporting event of the year, so I suppose we can't ignore it. So in terms of the roundup, viewing stats, halftime show, what were people thinking, and how would you Podmojize that? Let's start with Claire.
I have a really good Podmoji for that. I just put it on the list because I had a Podmoji.
Oh.
It's a bunny.
Oh, but you've got to be bad. You were smiling.
It's a bad bunny, exactly.
No, you're not looking bad. You're looking happy. It's a happy bunny.
Yeah. I feel like that wins some prizes. So the Super Bowl happened. If you're not in the US, none of this means anything, but the Seattle Seahawks won against the New England Patriots. It was, again, the highest peak viewership in US history. It went up to 138 million. Please send on a postcard the number of all the other things that happen outside of the US that have a bigger audience, whether it's in Europe or in China. The people don't care that. I mean, that's not true that people don't care about the actual game, because they do. But what's important often and what's talked about for the Super Bowl is the halftime show. This one was very controversial. It was Bad Bunny, who is a Puerto Rican artist, who did apparently a really fantastic halftime show with some really great guest stars, fantastic production values, and almost entirely in Spanish, which for some reason was very controversial, even though there have been many other Super Bowl halftime shows in various languages and performed by non-Americans. Bad Bunny, being from Puerto Rico, is actually American. Anyway, there was a whole thing about that. The ads were interesting. Amazon, unfortunately, got a little bit bitten. Amazon ran an ad. Did you see this, Maureen? Amazon ran an ad for Ring, for their doorbell thing, showing that through Ring, you could find your dog if it got lost. But what people realized through this ad was that through Ring, everybody could spy on everybody constantly. And Amazon had access to all of that data, even if it wasn't formally recording. And there was a little bit of a freak out, and they had to stop some of their surveillance software. So that was a bit of an own goal for Amazon. You said that Anthropic ran 2 ads. They did. I mean, the problem is, yes, it's incredibly expensive. It's $7 million, I think, now to buy an ad in the Super Bowl. But then on the other hand, you have companies that are worth $380 billion. So it's kind of hard to, those numbers don't mean anything at this stage. But yes, Bad Bunny, that's my Podmoji. I'm happy with it. I stick by it.
Very nice. Very nice. Could have been badder, but very good ears. Maureen.
I can't beat the Bad Bunny bit, unless you think my bunny is good, Bunny. I don't know.
Slightly,
or better.
I'd call that slightly derivative, if anything.
You could be a Seahawk, Maureen, because they won.
Yeah. Okay. 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 And the only thing I can add to this is I've got a statistic actually that when looking at the social data, 60% of the viewership on the Bad Bunny's TikTok clip was female, and 62% was from outside of the US.
I believe that for the show, for the halftime show,
for the show, and 95% under 35. So the NFL is reaching demographics that should terrify absolutely all of us, in terms of entertainment property. But because it really is reaching the sort of young audiences and global audiences. So I think it's superb well. So so very expensive. There were 102 celebrity appearances across 39 ads. 102. I mean, it's crazy. But I agree with you. I think it is $7 to $8 million for 30 seconds. Yeah. But when you are valued at such these extraordinary valuations,
you have 130 million. You've got 140 million people watching. So when are you going to get 140 million people watch your ad?
You're not going to get that. And what's worrying for everybody is arguably the concentration of this marketing spend as well. I mean, that's the issue. So I enjoyed it. I saw one interview, Claire, and Oliver, which was really, really fascinating. That to get that pitch set up for the half time or whenever it is, the half time, they had 30 minutes to get on and off, including the performance itself. So, as you know, the straw, because he recreated his Puerto Rican home, the straw was actually, they ran on with the straws. There were people inside the big reeds or the straw that we say, which is hilarious. But only 30 minutes to stage a performance like that, which was incredible, absolutely incredible. So for me, that was the most astonishing thing when I saw the interview of the technical team that said they need to, they're just heartbreaks, and how they wheeled on people, or they're not allowed to disturb the turf. They've got to be very, very careful, because then they had this not as great a game apparently as last year, or not as great as two teams as last year, and they only play 30 minutes or something. I don't know.
It's four quarters of 15 minutes each. They probably play an hour. I don't know. It goes on forever. It's interminable, but wonderful.
It really goes on forever.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Mind you, I can't know. I like cricket, so
anyway,
I'm wondering what the viewership of the T20 final will be. Because as you all know, the T20 World Cup is on, I think, in Sri Lanka. So that should have well, if India or Pakistan make it, India particularly. Anywho, that was good. Thank you so much. Just adding up the points. Right, good. Next one is, we might be missing out on a bob in Disney, but we have the skeleton bob in the Winter Olympics, where Team GB won 2 gold medals on the same day. It was extremely exciting. And, it wasn't 2 in skeleton bob on the same day. We did win 2 on the same day, but skeleton bob was 2 days apart. But anyway, it was really exciting, and we are massive fans of the skeleton bob now, and those big stone slidey things, because we do quite well at it. France doing a hell of a lot better on the more sexy stuff.
Well, we do have mountains, so it helps. Yes.
Yeah, so you've got to get out there and use them. So anyway, I think it becomes no surprise that we're talking here about the Winter Olympics coverage, specifically the BBC, I guess, Maureen.
Yes, and you just proved the point. So, which is how exciting this particular Winter Olympic is, Oliver. But this is a broadcast. This is a broadcast story and a technology story. So, because Milan Cortina is now probably going to be the story that Premier League will look to, every other live sport will look to from 2026 onwards. It's been amazing, and it's attracted people who are just simply casual viewers, not necessarily interested in the winter sports. So I'm just going to throw out some numbers. It's So in fact, it's ABC, it's NBC that's doing most of the sort of heavy lifting and really attracting a lot of folks as well. But of course, there are other broadcasters that will be covering the Olympics. So 26.5 million viewers, most watched Winter Games since Sochi, nearly double Beijing. Peacock has already streamed 5.3 billion minutes, more than the entirety of either of the last two Winter Games. I'm just throwing out some US stats here, as they're the ones I've sort of grabbed hold of because it's good comparators. Of course, as we know, the Super Bowl led in 42 million for the post-game Olympics coverage. This is, I think, a real good comeback. But I only want to talk about this because of the production technology. So, and this is where it gets really, really fascinating. There are over 810 cameras deployed in Italy at the moment. The same number for this venue in 1956 were under 10. So the big story that's really surfacing here is this is now Cine Live. And what that means is cinema quality, I'm going to be technical, super 35mm cameras are now being integrated in the live broadcast workflows, which gives you this fantastic, almost filmic cinema experience in real time. That is the fascinating bit at the moment. And they are being delivered, the streams are being delivered almost at 145 kilometers per hour. So it's absolutely amazing. And Alibaba Cloud in particular is the power engine in real time, which is showing us the 360 degrees of footage. And what the AI can do is distinguish the skier or the snowboarder or whomever from the snow itself, which technically is bloody difficult. So all of the clips that we're now seeing after the event, or the repeats as we know it in the old days, is coming from this software and coming from AI. But the cameras themselves are absolutely spectacular. So this for me is the new R&D for sports broadcasting, and I think everything that's debuted here will now be what's being used. Here comes the cat. Here comes the cat.
Right across your microphone.
Here comes the cat. Here comes the cat.
There we go. Oh, God, it's huge.
What's going to be used going forward? That is a big cat.
Did you
see? And to that point, what the best meme I saw for curling, as everyone has their own view on curling as a sport, was a series of tomcats, black and white cats, sitting on the curling granite as it moves up and down.
That's causing quite a lot of audio disruption. Yeah, that.
All right. What's your Podmoji, Maureen?
Yeah,
I've got mine right there.
Oh, for Olympics.
Ooh, I see.
That's very nice.
Yes, very nice. 20 points. Yeah, and Claire, there's a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind coming on your mic. You might want to move the cat off. Cut off the microphone. I don't know. I just
okay. 2 minutes, Mike. Okay. She's going to come back. Sorry about the cat. I'm going to add a couple of things. This is just a ploy for getting people to watch us on YouTube, of which obviously the cat. There were also 25 drones, Maureen, constantly used, including some that would follow. He's going to jump back on the table because follow athletes down the slopes in bobsleigh and skiing. And there were 1,800 microphones, because it's not over, obviously, 1,800 microphones capturing everything from, the noise of the ski on the ice to coach to athlete, radio communication, everything. So it really felt like you were actually, it was most certainly a better experience watching it on TV than if you'd been there. Yes, it was very cool. This is my Podmoji. I'm skiing.
Oh, you're skiing.
Downhill.
I thought you were doing
the
mashed potato.
Figure skating. It's a triple axel. That's my Podmoji.
Oh, right, yeah.
We won anyway, it was very impressive and I loved it. We should move on. Last Podmoji. I'm just saying this because the cat's going to jump on the table again.
Oh, okay. Now, I had to look up what the axles and the other things were. It's quite interesting. One's off the back foot, one's off the front foot. It's incredibly difficult. Right, let's move on. Finally, we hear that romance writers are embracing AI. Finally. I mean, I can imagine what that's all about. There are probably only several plot lines you can have in a romance. I don't know. I don't
that
read
is
them.
that's just such a male view of
Is it?
romance.
It's
Yeah.
boy meets
Well,
girl,
there are at
girl
least
meets
12.
boy,
At least 12.
two boys meet a girl meets a girl. No, I can't only think of 4 or 5.
Enemies to
Educate me.
lovers.
Oh yeah,
Um,
another one. 5,
Someone decides to jump on a horse.
6.
second chance at love. There's definitely a horse
Oh yeah.
level thing. There's horse is a whole subgenre. Anyway, yes. The interesting thing is so there was an article in the New York Times. You should all look it up. It's called "The New Fabio is Claude." So we're back at Claude, central to this entire discussion. The point is, some romance writer are embracing AI, which allows them to churn a lot of novels. And they are saying, I'm not trying to reduce this to what just, AI generated books. They still have to work at it. They need to have the right prompts. They need to reread the outcome. There's a lot of editing. It's not quite sort of press a button, book comes out, but it does allow them to churn more volume. And romance writing for many is a volume game. Many of these writers will have several books out a year. Because they are short runs, and that's how they make money, and that's how the market works. Now, the romance market is 20% of the publishing market. It is enormous. It's also a sector that's always embraced new technology. It's very, very female dominated sector. You won't be surprised, at all levels of the value chain, all the way from the writers to the publishers to the distributors to the readers. It's always embraced technology. They were the first to go to ebooks. They were the first to go to ebook subscriptions. They were the first to go to self-publishing, and now they are testing AI. Not everybody likes it. Some of the writers are very against it. Others are trying it. But the point is, they're trying new things. I think it's interesting. I think good for them. And my pot emoji is a heart. But I'm doing the old version of a heart. I know there's another way to do it like this. Yeah. I don't know.
That looked like a kidney.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's part kidney, I'm sure. Maybe a bit of spleen. It was certainly an internal organ. So congrats. Maureen.
I will be a canary, but I'm not quite sure how to do it in a coal mine. So I'm not quite sure how to do
What is the coal mine?
That's a coal mine?
I have no
That's just
idea,
your head.
so I can just do
That's
that.
more like
It's
it. You're
like coal mine.
undergroundish.
It's like I'm there until I'm not. So,
Right.
And I'm a canary.
You're going
and I'm a
underground.
canary.
Right. Okay.
Because Claire said everything that needs to be said here, and she said it perfectly, that romance has always been that sort of canary in the coal mine for publishing technology. So they're always the first, across any sort of form of technology. They're always experimenting, and they're significant, and they're a big voice, and everyone does look to them. So before the cat starts to sort of jump in and out, I don't have much to say apart from there's some economics here which I thought were really fascinating. So this particular story did talk about one person, 200 novels, 21 pen names, 6 figures in revenue. And that's not a writing career. That's a content factory. These particular writers now, and one in particular that was cited in the article, she's actually training people to how to use AI to write like a content factory. So I think it's amazing. I think what's going to be interesting, which still is an issue, deeper issue for publishing, is discoverability. So they're going to have to still cut through the noise, and that's going to be the biggest question. That's the strategic big question for everyone. So canary in the coal mine, fascinating stuff. I love the fact that it's being, I wasn't surprised actually romantic fiction embraces AI. I think it's good on them.
Okay, so you had 2 animals, 50 points an animal. You had the canary and the other animal. We had the bunny and the cat on that side, 50 points an animal. Maybe to draw, 100 points each on the old scoring system of £50 an animal. Congratulations, both of you. That was absolutely wonderful. Very entertaining. We have to... Oh, my goodness me, we've overrun. We've got to go. All that it remains for me to say is, goodbye, Maureen.
Goodbye, but I think we should do a special goodbye for the cat as well.
Goodbye to... What's the name of the cat? Is it a French name?
Sebastian.
Sebastian.
Oh,
Sebastian. Au revoir, Sebastian. Le chat.
I love that name.
And goodbye from you, Claire.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from the four of us with our combined 10 legs. See you on the next one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.